So in the last class, we were going through JDBC API. We saw how to connect to the database server through the JDBC API. So we saw how to add the records, how to fetch the records. So in the process, please make sure that your mics are muted, all of you. See, we have gone through various components of JDBC, like driver manager, prepared statement object, result set object, statement object, and all. Yes. You know, we have used driver manager to establish a connection with the database server, and you see, we have used statement object. So what is the purpose of statement object? Why did we use statement object? Let me quickly review this, okay, and then we'll start with and we'll further move on. Yeah. Statement object. Why is statement object used? Yes. To
execute that query.
Yes. In order to execute a query, we need a statement object. And actually, we have another type of statement object called as prepared statement object. Prepared statement object here. Yes. So
yeah, we use prepared statement for insert, delete, and update for non-select SQL queries, with for which we need to provide the parameters.
okay, not just for non-select queries. Even we can use the prepared statement object for select queries also. Okay, but wherever you need bind parameters, the second point which you mentioned, that is right. So in the query, if you have bind parameters, then you have to go for prepared statement object. So prepared statement object only supports bind parameters. So statement object won't support bind parameters. Yeah. So
okay, so select query with any conditions, we need to go for a prepared statement. You cannot use the statement.
not conditions in the sense, if in your query, if you have bind parameters, it doesn't matter whether it is a select query or insert query or non-select query. Irrespective of whether the query is select or non-select query, in the query, if you have bind parameters, you have to go for prepared statement object.
Okay, so statement we can use only to select all the rows in a table.
Not
or else
like a static
if
query.
you specify, yeah, static values, but not like
not bind parameters. You see, like you see, if you have if it is this query, you see, it's a static query. So at one time we don't assign any values to this query.
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, you will go for statement object. So the only thing is the query with bind parameters, query without bind parameters. Query without bind parameters, you will go for statement object. A query with bind parameters, you can go for prepared statement object.
I have a question. So when the prepared statement will solve the purpose of a statement also, why do we have both?
That is what I'm saying now. So statement object won't support bind parameters.
No, that's what I'm asking. Like, we can use prepared statement for everything, right?
Yeah, okay.
Is there
Uh,
anything which statement can do which prepared statement cannot do?
um, Not much. The thing is here, statement is more generalized form of statement object, I can say. Okay, so whereas a prepared statement, you see, additionally it has got this methods and all to
No.
which helps you to just assign that values to the bind parameters and all. So if there is a requirement, you can go for this prepared statement with this additional methods like the setups which we saw in the last class, which helps us to access the
Mhm.
bind parameters and all. Apart from
Mhm.
that, there is no difference, I can say. Yes. And there is one more
Okay.
difference. In fact, a statement is what you said is right. So it adds one more point.
Mhm.
You will find that statement object, when we talk about statement object, so you will find that here we have an option. In case of statement object, have you people noticed it? Um when we are passing the query, okay, I'll come to your question also, Ram. So the thing is, have you noticed it? In case of statement object, you're passing the query at runtime. Sorry, not runtime. We are passing the query to this execute query method. That means each time you call this execute query method, you have an option to pass a query, different query. Okay. Yes. So we can do that. And you will find that every time we execute the query is parsed. Every time the query is executed, it is actually parsed. Parsing means, say, on the database end, the query will be checked for syntax errors and all. Yes. So this query has to be passed on the database side itself. So that is what happens. Whereas in case of prepared statement, what happens, you see, we are passing the query while creating the prepared statement object. That means the query will be passed once when this prepared statement object is created. And while executing the query, we don't have to pass it explicitly. Yes. Okay. Yeah. That is another difference which you'll see. So that means we can just create this query statement object once. The query is passed once, and you can use it any number of times to execute this query with different set of parameters. Whereas in case of the statement object, you see, when we execute the query, when we call this execute query method, at that time itself we're passing the query, and it is passed several times. So that means here you'll find that the prepared statement itself is better than statement object in many ways. Okay. Yeah. Hope you people got it. Okay, next coming to this bind parameters, you see, bind parameters will help you to assign different set of values at runtime. You see, you have this bind parameters here. So we can replace this bind parameters with the values. We are not hard coding the values. This way we are making the query more reusable. Yes, this way we are making the query more reusable. So we can pass the arguments to this method. That is, it takes a product object and we'll be assigning the values to this bind parameters. Okay, so both the statement and prepared statement objects, why we are using them to execute the query. Correct? The main difference is I told you people. The prepared statement object supports bind parameters, whereas statement object doesn't. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So now let's move on. Before that, just a second. Just a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. So now I'll show you one more thing here, because you people have only you people saw how to use prepared statement object for the insert query, but not for the select query, right? So let me show you people how to use it for the select query. So for example, now we got a requirement. We have to fetch the product record based on the ID. Previously, see, we have written this get products method, which will fetch all the records from the product table by default, right? Now this time, let's try to fetch a product record based on the ID. Only one record based on the ID. That is what we'll try to do here. Yes. For that, I'll define a method. So you got this method. So you see, this method will return a product record. That means what should be the return type of this method here? What should be the return type of this method?
It should be of product.
Yes, it should be product type. The return type is supposed to be product class type here. And then let's add a method get product by ID. You see, so I'll make this method to take the product ID as input. So this method will take that product ID. So it has to fetch a record, right? It is supposed to fetch which record. See, the ID of that product will pass it as input here. Yes. So next, you see, let's try to establish the connection. We have to construct a query and all such things. Let's do that here. We just copied the connection establishment code. Query, select query, you have to edit it. Yes. Here, now this method is supposed to return a product object reference. Just I'll just make it null. You know, you'll find that the select query, first of all, you have to edit this query. Select star from desktop product where product underscore ID equal to question the bind parameter. That means this ID will assign it when we call this method at runtime, you can say. So we'll replace this bind parameter with an ID, product ID later on. Okay. Next, how do we execute this query? Again, you see we have bind parameter in this query, as we have discussed. If you have bind parameter in the query, then you have to go for prepare statement object here. Connection dot prepare statement pass the query. Yes. So this is what we need to do. See, now before we execute this query, we have to assign the value to that bind parameter. So what will be the, how will you access that bind parameter? How will you access the bind parameter? What will you do? How will you access the bind parameter? Yes, you have that bind parameter, right? Now we have to access that bind parameter and assign a value to that bind parameter. So what you will do? So we use a method from the prepared statement object itself, a setter method. And you see that setter method also, it depends on the type of value we have to assign to that bind parameter. So to that bind parameter in this case, you see, we have to assign an integer value. Product ID is integer type, right? So we have to use set int method. We have to use set int method here. Okay, yes, use set int method. And to access that bind parameter, we need the index of that bind parameter. So what will be the index? It will be 1. So there is only one bind parameter and it starts with 1. Index always starts with 1. So index of this bind parameter is 1 here. Index of this bind parameter is 1. Yes. So we'll assign that value here. See, prepared statement dot set int of index is 1 and you can pass that value ID. You see, to the method, the parameter will be passed. You can pass that value. This ID value. This is what you need to do. Okay. Yes. So yeah, Krishnavini, hi. I guess you thought the class is at 6:30. It started at 6 itself. Yesterday, as I told you people. So this way, we'll assign the value to this bind parameter, and then we can execute this query. So how will you execute this query? It's a select query. What to do? Yes, we saw a method, right? So we got a method to execute the query. So what is that method? Execute query method is there. Yes. You see, it depends on the type of query. Always remember, it depends on the type of query. So in this case, because we have to execute a select query, you have to go with execute query method. If you have to execute a non-select query, use execute update method. For non-select queries, it is execute update. For select query, use execute query method. So now let's try to execute this query using this method here. Yes. See prepared statement dot execute query. It returns a result set object. Yes. So now this result set object will help you to read that record which is fetched as a result of executing this query. See, first of all, I would like to check whether there is any record, whether we got any record as a result of executing this query or not. I want to check whether any record is fetched as a result of executing this query. So what do you think? You see, how will you do that? We'll call this next method. So we'll call this next method. What this next method will do, it will try to move the cursor to that record, and it will check whether there is any data or not. If there is any data, it returns true. Else, it returns false, I think so. So if it returns true, that means definitely we got the data. Okay? Yes. If we got the data, so what to do? In that case, you have to create a product object and store the data into the product object. Okay? Yes, that is the what I'll write here. Already we declared a reference variable of type product here. So we'll have to instantiate it. Product equal to new product. And then already we have written this code to read the data, product record, and store it into a product object, right? In the previous method we have it. Okay, you'll do this. So you'll read the row data column wise, and you'll assign that values to the product object properties using setters here. Yes, that's it. So once you're done, you can return this product object with you. Return product. That's it. So I hope you people understood why I'm declaring this product reference variable here on top. Why did I do that? Why I didn't declare that product reference variable in that if condition? Because you see, here by declaring that reference variable directly in the method, instead of in that if condition, we are making sure that this product reference variable is visible or accessible throughout this method. So if you declare that product reference variable inside the if condition, okay, then it is only visible within that if block. Okay, the block associated to that if condition, only within that if block you'll be able to access that reference variable. Okay, yeah, hope you got it. That's the reason why we are making sure that we declare it outside of all the blocks which you got here. Yes. Okay, so you can test it. You will pass a product ID as input and straight away return the product object here. Yes, that is what it does. For suppose now I have a question. Okay, let's say if there is no product associated to that ID in the database server. Okay, there is no product for that particular product ID. In that case, what this method returns, if there is no product record associated to that ID, in that case, what this method returns, which it returns null. That's right. So it is supposed to return null. Because this if condition won't execute, right? So whatever the value which is stored in this product reference variable, it will be returned. You have null in it, so null will be returned here. That's it. Okay, shall we test it? You don't try to do that. We'll call that method get product ID. I'll pass the ID as 1 or 2. That's it. So straight away it returns the product object reference. We'll try to print this line. Already we have the code for that. Let's make use of it. Okay. You see, we got the record. Yes. 5,000. Yeah. You joined late. Did you think that the class was at 6:30? Okay. Oh, please check your mails if there is if you find that if there is any delay in the class timings or anything, there is any delay in the meeting, please check your mails. Sometimes the meeting link will change. That's it. So initially I've reviewed the class, I mean the previous class topics, and then I have uh, yeah, I have done this. I've just defined this method which returns a product object here, which takes a product ID and returns the product object associated to that ID. Searching for the product record based on the ID. This is what I've implemented so far. Okay. Next, today, as I told you people, we'll be talking about the JDBC drivers. Actually, I can say the topic is JDBC API. Okay, the design of the JDBC API. Okay, you know, when Java people, when they decided to provide an API to help Java developers to interact with the database server, I can say that they have faced or they came across a lot of hurdles. Java people, when they decided to provide an API for the Java developers to help the Java developers to connect to the database server, yes, they have they came across a lot of hurdles. I can say yes, they faced many issues. Which led to the design. I mean, which played a crucial role in developing this JDBC API. Okay, there are various factors which influence this JDBC API. So, what are these factors? Let's see. So, the first and foremost thing Let me just do this. Then Java people decided to provide an API for Java developers to connect to the DB server. So you see, they came across following issues, I can say. Yes. What is it? First one. There are many database servers in the market. Okay. You'll find that here there are many database servers in the market. Yes. How this can be an issue if there are several database servers in the market? How this can be an issue? You see, every database server is different from the other. Each database server is different. What are the various database servers we have? Okay, just think about the current market now. You have Oracle, DB2, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL Server, and blah blah blah. So there are many other database servers. So the problem is here, you see, the Java people, they have to provide the connection code to connect to each database server. You know, the connection code which is provided for a particular database server, it won't work for another database server. It won't work for another database server. Okay? Yes. You'll find that here for each database server, separate connection code is required. For each database server, separate connection code is required. Well, because each database server is different. The schemas are different. The network protocols which they use is different. So basically, the way you connect to one database server would be different from the other one. Yes. So as a result of it now, Java developers are supposed to provide separate connection code for each database server. Okay. So this is going to be difficult task. Adding to this problem, you will find that again there are several versions, different versions for each database server. Okay, you have several versions for each database server. So when you talk about a particular database server, you see, you'll find that here there are different versions. For example, if you consider Oracle itself, you see there are various versions of Oracle database server. You have Oracle 8, Oracle 9, Oracle 10, Oracle 11, 12, and so on. You see, apart from major releases, you'll have minor releases also in between. Apart from major releases, you'll have minor releases also in between. So that means this connection code or the API which we are talking about here, okay, it should support each and every database server, and even that new releases, minor releases also have to be supported. That means it is actually a continuous process here. This is going to be a continuous process. Maintenance is going to be an issue. Java developers, sorry, Java people, okay, who provide this API, they have to also provide the support continuously. Whenever database vendors they release a new version, they have to make sure that the new version is also supported by this API. Yes. So is this clear for you people? The first issue, the first hurdle which Java people came across. Yeah. Is it clear for everyone? Can I have yes? If you have any issues, let me know.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Hope everyone got it. So how this issue is addressed? How this issue is addressed? What is the solution for this? What do you people think? You know what Java people did here? They solved this issue by asking the database vendors to provide the connection code to connect to their respective database servers. So Java people they decided that they won't provide this connection code. Instead, they want database vendors to provide the connection code to connect to their respective database servers here. Yes. Now each database vendor is responsible for providing the connection code to connect to their respective database vendors. Okay. Yes. So let me just make a note of it here. And this is issue 1. What is the solution for this issue? So Java people they didn't provide the connection code to connect to they didn't provide the connection code. Instead, they decided to ask the DB vendors to provide the connection code to connect to their respective database servers. Okay, Java people. they didn't provide the connection code. Instead, they decided to ask the database vendors to provide the connection code to connect to their respective database service. Okay, I said they decided, but here I can say there is one more issue with this approach. This is a good idea, of course. This is a feasible solution. Again, for this approach also, there is an issue. Yes, I can say that. Instead, they decided to ask the database vendors to provide the connection to code to connect to their respective database service. But this solution led to another issue. What is it? What is the problem if each database vendor is supposed to provide the connection code to connect to their respective database service? What do people think? What could be the issue?
If there is a change on the database server side, so they have to constantly update the API.
No, that is vendors in headache, right? Java people,
Okay.
they don't have to worry about it in that case.
Oh, okay. You're asking like what is the issue with the Java? Java people.
Yeah. The issue for the Java developers or Java people.
For the issue Java developer. So, like whatever we need, like as a Java developer, we are not sure if they are having a solution for that.
No, I can say that, yeah. You see, from the Java developer's perspective itself, we have the issue. From the Java developer's perspective itself, we have the issue. So what is the issue here? Yes. You see, you will find that each database vendor, they may provide the connection code, so which is different from another database vendor. I mean the API, you can think of it as an API. So each database vendor will be providing an API which is different from another database vendor API. Yes. You see, it shows here each DB vendor may provide the API to connect to their respective database service. But the issue is no two database vendors the issue is DB vendors will provide the APIs which are completely different from another DB vendor. So when I say API, so what exactly you have in the API?
We have methods.
We have set of predefined classes
Class.
and methods. Yes.
Method.
In each class, you have set of methods. So that means here, let's say Oracle database vendors, they have provided the API, the connection code to connect to Oracle database server. In that API, there are a set of classes and methods. Similarly, MySQL database vendors will provide the API to connect to MySQL database vendor. So in that API, you'll have set of classes and methods which will be different from the Oracle database vendors API classes and methods. No two database vendors will implement that methods will define the same set of methods to provide the connection code, right? So these APIs are going to be different. That means as a Java developer, for us, it is an issue. So the learning curve is going to be more for us. That means if you know how to connect to Oracle database server, that won't be enough, because that API which you have used to connect to Oracle server will only work for Oracle. Now, if you want to connect to MySQL server, now you have to learn a completely new API to connect to MySQL server. So for each database vendor, see, so to connect to each database vendor, the Java developers, they have to learn a completely new API. So you see, I will add a note here. So this issue leads to forcing, this issue will force the developers to learn a new API for each new API to connect to each database server. This issue will force the developers to learn a new API to connect to each database server. Okay, so you'll have a lot of APIs, right? For every database server, you'll have a new API. So as a developer, we have to learn all these APIs. This is the issue. Because you see, even if you consider we are talking about two database vendors, two different companies. Forget about companies. No two developers will write the code the same way. You see, you may write the code in a different way. I may write the code in a different way. I may define different set of methods. You may define different set of methods for the same task. Yes, it's possible. The way you write the code and the way I write the code, of course, it will vary. Yes, definitely. So that is the problem here. So is this issue clear for you people? All of you?
Yes.
So how will you address this issue? I can say that you people are familiar. I mean, you know how to address this issue.
Yeah, having a common API.
Yeah, you should have a common API. So how do we develop that common API? What to do?
They can develop this API into different steps, into different layers. One layer is it's common to the one layer is for the Java developers, and the other layer between the API and to the database.
Okay.
So the users or the Java developers will be accessing only one layer. I mean, the low. I mean, the driver. Sorry, I can't explain.
Okay, what you are saying is right. I do agree. Yeah. You know. Here you'll find that this issue can be addressed using interfaces concept. I can say interface. Have you noticed it? We have worked with collection API. Just an example of how the issue can be addressed using interfaces. In the collection API, we have implemented. You see, we have discussed about collection interface. So, what is the importance of this collection interface? What it does? So, you will find that here the collection interface. I can say that basically uh, it defines the contract for the collection classes. You will find that all the collection classes are made to implement this interface. Each and every collection class basically it implements this collection interface. I can say it implements this collection interface. Yes. So why each and every class is made to implement this collection interface? You got any idea? Why each and every class is made to implement collection interface? No idea? We did discuss about it. Okay, people at least who have attended core Java sessions, we did discuss about this point. Yeah. So see, Java people, what they did, you see, when it comes to this collection API, they have made all the collection classes implement this collection interface. So that you see, every collection class will have the same set of common methods. Through this interface, you see, Java people have achieved this standardization of implementing the methods. You'll find that all the collection classes, they will be implementing the same set of common methods. They have common methods across this collection classes. You see, in each and every collection class, you'll find add method, you know, size method. You'll find contains method, right? You'll find add all. You have set of common methods. So now, as a developer, you see, we don't have to worry about working with different methods in different collection classes. all the collection classes will have the same set of common methods here. In all the collection classes, you got the same set of common methods, I can say. Yes. So as a developer now, you see, we can simply use the methods here. But you will find that from collection class to collection class, that the way the method is implemented will be different. Okay. So add method of the array list will add the element to the array list data structure. Add method of the linked list collection class will add the element to the doubly linked list data structure. Right? Yes, the functionality will be different, but you'll find that in all the collection classes we have set of common methods. So here in Java also similar in the when it comes to JDBC API, JDBC also the same approach is followed. What Java people did here, you see, the solution here for this issue. So Java people developed an API called JDBC API and provided set of interfaces. You know, in the interfaces what you'll have abstract methods, right? And ask the database vendors to implement this, sorry, and ask the database vendors to provide the connection code by implementing the JDBC API interfaces. So what happens, say, as a result of it, all the DB vendors will be providing the connection code by implementing common set of methods. Okay, so that is how it worked here. So Java people have provided JDBC API. In the JDBC API, there are set of interfaces and ask database vendors to provide the connection code by implementing the JDBC API interfaces. Okay. So as a result of it, what happened? You see, all the database vendors will be providing the connection code by implementing common set of methods. Okay. So, you know, the set of classes which implement JDBC API interfaces, the set of classes which implement JDBC API interfaces are called JDBC drivers. They are called JDBC drivers. Okay, the set of classes which implement JDBC API interfaces are called as JDBC drivers. Who provides this JDBC drivers? Who provides this JDBC drivers? database vendors will be providing it, right? You see, this JDBC drivers are provided by the database vendors, and they contain the connection code to connect to respective database servers, I could say. That's it. So this is how the issues are addressed. Okay. So is the solution clear for you people? How Java people have addressed this issue? So now you see they have provided JDBC API, which contains set of interfaces, and database vendors they have provided the connection code by implementing this JDBC API interfaces. And that set of classes Java database vendors have provided to provide the connection code, they are called as JDBC drivers. Yeah. Okay. You know, that means are we supposed to on this have the knowledge of this JDBC drivers, the classes which are implemented by this database vendors. In the JDBC drivers, we have set of classes, right, which implement JDBC API interfaces. Are we supposed to learn that classes, understand those classes? Yes, I can say no. We don't have to do that. See, you will find that here, in fact, we don't even need to have any information about that implementation classes. Have you noticed it? Just check this method here. You know what I'm doing here? I'm using connection statement result set from and also driver manager. See, especially connection statement and result set, they are from the JDBC API. Actually, they are interfaces. They are interfaces. They are not. They are not concrete classes. Yes, they are all interfaces. I can say. Yes. Okay. If they are interfaces here, then how this how we are able to instantiate these interfaces? Yes. How we are able to instantiate these interfaces? We cannot instantiate an interface, right? Then
how we got this objects here. And you see in the interface we have non-abstract methods. Sorry, they are abstract methods, right? So if connection is an interface, then create statement should be an abstract method. How come it is possible to use an abstract method without any functionality in it? You know what? Actually, we are not creating any objects for these interfaces. In fact, in this reference variables like connection, statement, and result set, which are interface reference variables, in this reference variables, we have the object reference of the classes which implement these interfaces. Okay, we have the object reference of the classes which implement these interfaces here. This. Okay, yeah. You see, in this reference variables, we have the object reference of the classes which implement this interface. Okay? The object references of the classes which implement this interface, that class object reference we have done here. You know, the driver manager will load the JDBC drivers. Appropriate JDBC drivers will be loaded by the driver manager, and they will be stored in the sorry, it will load the drivers and appropriately it will instantiate those classes. Internally, it will create those objects. Okay, yeah. So hope people got it. Yeah, you see, the driver manager class, which is part of your JDBC API, it will load this JDBC drivers. Appropriate drivers will be loaded, and in this, and what it does, it will instantiate those classes, the JDBC driver classes. Yeah, you see, in this case, the driver manager will get that connection class object reference which implements this connection interface. Okay, that connection class which implements this connection interface, it is loaded now. You see, it is instantiated by this driver manager. In turn, the connection class will create a statement object which implements a statement class object reference. So instantiate statement class which implements this interface. Yeah. So internally, this driver classes will be instantiated here appropriately. First, your driver manager will be responsible for loading those classes and creating the objects. First, it creates this connection class, connection interface implementation class, I can say. So there will be a class which implements this connection interface. That class will be instantiated by the driver manager. Yes. So that is how it works here. Yes. So internally, in this reference variables which are of type interface, you have the object reference of the classes which implement this interface. Yes. So you know what? The JDBC drivers, you will find that here we have to load them explicitly. Okay, we have to load the drivers. We have to add them to this project here. So by default, they won't be added. I have added the JDBC drivers. If you can check this, you see in the project I have added. I'll show you how to do that. See, these are MySQL JDBC drivers, I can say. Now in this drivers, you'll have those implementation classes. So as I told you people now, see, you'll find that here we have these classes which implement that connection interface and all. You see, you have connection impl class which implements that connection interface. Internally, this class object reference is stored in this connection reference variable. Similarly, for result set, for statement, for everything, you have the implementation classes. You see, you have result set implementation class whose object reference will be stored in this result set class reference variable. Yeah, is it clear? Yeah. So from where you will obtain these drivers, I'll show you. By default, they are not part of your JDBC API. You have to download them. Okay. Yes. Yes. Let me just open this browser. Yeah, you can search for this. You see MySQL DDBC drivers. From the official site itself, you can get it. This database vendor's official site will be there, no? They will be providing it. You see, this is the page official from this is official site itself, from where you can just get this JDBC drivers. See, I'll paste the link here. So in this page, you'll find the platform independent zip archive. You have to download this one. It is 3.6 MB. So what you will do after downloading this drivers here, see, you'll get a zip file. You have to extract it first of all. Okay. You have to extract it. I'll show you. You see, you'll get a zip file this way. When you extract it, in the extracted folder, you'll find a jar file with the name MySQL connector Java. Okay. So all of you can make a note of it. How to add this drivers to the project build path. So to add this drivers to the project build path, these are the steps. Just a minute. First of all, I have this JDBC drivers. I'll remove it. Let me just remove it from the build path. All of you, you can do this. Select the project, right click on it, go to the properties, note of it, all of you. Go to the properties, select this properties. See, in the properties, you'll find Java build path. In the properties, you'll find Java build path. When you select the Java build path, on the right side, you'll find 4 tabs: source, projects, libraries, order and export. You can select this libraries tab. Yeah. And then on the right side, you should see add external jars. Click on this add external jars. Click on this add external jars. And now browse to the location where you have this jar file. Okay. Now see, it is added here. Now you can click on OK. That's it. Now you'll find those jars here in the build path. See, these are the jars. You see what you have in the jar file? What is this jar file actually? Here. What is this jar file? It is actually contains set of classes which implement JDBC API interfaces. This is your JDBC driver. Yes. What is it? It is your JDBC driver here. Yes. Yeah. It is JDBC driver. If you're creating a Maven project, then you can do this. Yes, in the last class also I mentioned about it. So going forward, we'll be using Maven tool, which helps us to add this dependencies. Yes. So this is not a Maven based project, so you can't use it here. Yes. So next in Hibernate, when we talk about Hibernate, so we'll be developing the applications using Maven tool. There you will be adding the dependencies using Maven. Okay. So I hope you people got it. Any questions? Okay, Saujanya has got a question. If you have any questions, please post them publicly. It will be better. I guess in the introduction class, I did mention about it. Hibernate, especially in J2E introduction class, day before yesterday's class, this is beyond the scope of this concept. This is a totally different question, out of box question, but still, let me just brief you. Hibernate is a persistence framework which helps you people to interact with the database server. Like JDBC, I can say that it is advanced than JDBC, far more advanced than JDBC. Whereas Spring Framework, it is used for developing enterprise applications. Unlike Hibernate, which is just confined to persistence or database interactions, Spring provides several features which helps us for developing enterprise applications, I can say. Yes, that is what I can say about Spring now and the difference. Please, you know, post the messages publicly so that even others will understand what we are talking about. Okay? Because we will be, confusing others. I don't want that to happen. You have to think about others also. Yes. So, fine.
So, right now, are the companies still using JDBC, or they have moved to different frameworks?
So, initially, I guess you didn't miss the session. I said Hibernate, most of the times Hibernate frameworks are used, like Hibernate, not JDBC. Plain JDBC is not used. Okay.
Okay.
But you know what?
Yeah, ORM technologies are being used nowadays.
Yes. You will find that right in the first day, if you want to become pro in English, I can't teach you people straight away how to construct statements. We have to start from ABCD, right? So otherwise you won't understand. In a day, we can't become. I can't teach you philosophy. So or make you people pro in English, something like that. So here also you have to follow the basics. First you have to start with this JDBC, because Hibernate is built on top of JDBC. So now you understood JDBC. On top of JDBC you have Hibernate. So I guess 2-3 days won't make much difference for you people. And otherwise, you see, I will be adding JDBC drivers in Hibernate framework also. When we use Hibernate, you will see that we'll be adding JDBC drivers. And then you will scratch your heads. What is JDBC driver? Again, I have to explain it from the scratch. So it will take some time. And sometimes you know what, even to endorse Hibernate framework, to understand what it does, you need to know JDBC. At the core level, what happens behind the scenes. That is what you're learning here. So, which helps you people to better understand these frameworks like Hibernate and all such things. I have to build a platform for you people. Okay. So these are the building blocks, I can say. Otherwise, straight away in the first session of Java training itself, I can start with frameworks. But we can't do that, right? So you need some basics. So that is what you're doing here. Yes. Yeah.
Mahesh, yesterday you were talking about a file. You'll send us a file. Is that
actually
database?
I'm yet to share the Google Drive with you, I guess. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it. So definitely you'll get the details. Yes.
So for practice purpose, do you want us to download this? Because I don't have any database currently.
Okay. Now, I recommend you people. Okay, if you have MySQL server, it will be better. So
MySQL, okay.
So that we'll be in sync.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a link today, all of you. Try to work with this tutorial. You have a sample database scheme also, which is related to MySQL. this is a good tutorial to start with database concepts. Okay, um, it helps you people a lot. So here you have a sample schema with various tables like products, order, customers, orders, payment, offices, employees, product lines, order lines. So you have this complete schema and the queries related to it, including the data also. So I want you people to follow this tutorial and try to download the schema, database schema, and create it in your database. You have the queries to create the schema also in the database. In the you see downloading MySQL sample database, you can just download it, and it will also help you to understand how to load this, database into your MySQL database server. So seriously, all of you, give a try. Practice this as much as possible. Okay. Yes. So you will get a good insight. You have queries also. Try to work with the queries and all. So you have associations between the tables. Try to understand those things. Try to work with this tutorial and the examples which you got here in this tutorial. Definitely it is going to help you. Okay. Yes. So tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'll be talking about one of the patterns which is used over the years, that is called as DO. Generally, while working with data access code, we use this design pattern. So we'll see what is the advantage of using this DO and all. Yes, in the next class I'll talk about it. So meanwhile, I'll just copy this notes here to your folder and create another folder. Okay. So design of JDBC. Fine. So if you're using different database server, what to do? If you're using a different database server, I guess you don't have to change much. You'll find that you may need to slightly modify these queries and which helps you to create tables and all. So I have this sample schema. This is SQL file where you'll find all this tables, the queries to create the tables, to add the data to the tables and all. You see, for example, here you have a create table query. So if you're using, this is for MySQL server. So if you're using a different server, you may need to slightly change the data types. Okay, supported data types. So if you feel like it is difficult, then what you can do is here, you can install MySQL. It won't be a big deal. It's a small server. It's not at all heavyweight. You can try installing and try working with this classic model schema. So where you will find the table sample data is also there. Then you can start querying. You have queries also here, the tutorials for the queries, which helps you people to understand this querying and all. So before I start Hibernate, if you can just create these tables and understand the associations between the tables and all, that would be great. So will you people do that? I hope you people will do that. Okay. Please take out some time and try to work with it. Okay. So tomorrow I will be closing this JDBC part. Okay. As I told you people, I don't want to dig into much details of JDBC, but to some extent, at least you should understand what is what in JDBC. So that it will be better for you people to learn Hibernate framework. Okay. Yes. Fine. So, sure, Krishna, we will do that. Yeah. So, anyone got any questions still? Let me know. Okay. So, tomorrow we'll be talking about this design pattern, and I'll be closing this JDBC, and then we'll start with Hibernate day after tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. That's it.